Hello, I have a short video on 1x. It's kind of a rant, because, well, 1x is a very heated topic lately. Before the Discord server went read-only, you've probably seen a lot of people in, like, balanced discussion or something, say that 1x is overpowered. Assuming you had those channels, that is, but anyway. There's plenty of people who were basically begging on their knees for 1x nerfs, because they were all like, this guy's so overpowered, this is insane. So, they got nerfed. And there's a rather upvoted post that is on Reddit called, "They tried to gut 1x1x1x1 this update thinking no one would notice." It has 407 upvotes as of right now. I checked like literally 10 minutes ago and it was at like 300 something, so it's still going up. There's plenty of agreeing sentiments. Basically, this is just about how 1x sucks now. Anyhow, so I just wanted to make a quick video on this. Was 1x overpowered? I don't think so. Is 1x gutted now? I also don't think so. Do I think 1x is unfun to play against? Yes. Do I think 1x isn't fun to play as to some extent? Also, yes. There's a fundamental difference between, like, being unfun and being overpowered. It's not necessarily the same thing, though it can be associated. Usually when a killer is overpowered, they are also unfun to go against, but if they're unfun to go against, they're not necessarily overpowered. So, let me explain. Really, the biggest problem child here is Entanglement. Let's describe the effects of Entanglement. When you press Entanglement, after a short wind-up, 1x will throw their swords outwards. Basically, it throws out a thin, fast-moving projectile. If it hits a survivor, their aura is revealed to 1x for 2 seconds, they get helpless for 10 seconds, they are immobilized for 3 seconds, which they can break out early if they finish the minigame, and after a survivor breaks out of Entanglement, they get speed 1 for 1.25 seconds. 1x gains speed 2 for 3 seconds upon landing this move. It has a pretty short windup of 0.75 seconds, and although the end lag isn't documented on the wiki, it also doesn't feel long from my experience. Basically, when you look at it on paper, this move is super low commitment, while also having super high reward. So that's clearly overtuned, right? Right? Well, surprisingly, despite not being very fun to play against, it also isn't as overpowered as you would think it is. When 1x uses Entanglement, he plays a very obvious animation. It now also plays a very loud sound effect. Before 1x's sound effects got changed, Entanglement had a pretty silent sound effect. The Entanglement still had a sound effect, of course, but it was basically completely drowned out by the chase theme. So before that, there was a little bit of strategy where you could hide yourself behind cover, and the survivor probably wouldn't anticipate the Entanglement since they're not there to see your animation and can't hear your sound effect. Which means that they're less likely to change their pathing to dodge their Entanglement. I like this, it was pretty awesome. It added a little bit of strategy to a move that otherwise wouldn't have any. And then they gave Entanglement a really obvious wind-up sound effect, so now that strategy's gone. So basically, no matter what you do, the survivor is basically gonna know that the Entanglement is coming. So the survivor's not necessarily gonna follow their original pathing, and they will probably try to juke it. 1x can guess whether the survivor's gonna juke, or if they're gonna juke at all, but that's basically the only thing they can do. They can only guess. So now it just feels unfun for both sides. The immediate first thing Survivor feels is that this is a button that allows 1x to basically win chase for free, but the 1x is only held still for a very brief moment. So even if you juke the Entanglement, 1x can just go right back at you, and 9 times out of 10, no one's gonna be there to stun him during Entanglement. Let me give you a little bit of logic with, for example, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. In Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, if you're put into an Oki situation, it's actually quite complicated, but let's just say that the person on the offense is gonna go for a meaty. This can be roughly lumped up into a 50-50, where the attacker can either use an overhead, which must be blocked high, or a low, which, well, must be blocked low. If you don't block it, chances are it's going to lead to a combo, and even if you do, you don't have a frame advantage to punish them. However, in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, you can parry the opponent if you have a good guess. Parries sacrifice your block and are generally more risky than block for reasons that are too long for me to get into right now, but if you do manage to land a parry, you're at a massive frame advantage. There's a little bit more depth to it, like for example if you used a cancel move and it got parried so that you can cancel into something else which the opponent might not expect. But that's the general gist of it. With 1x, you feel like you can't really do anything to hinder his Entanglement pressure. Basically, Entanglement is a very low commitment move with incredibly high rewards. only balanced around its inconsistency to land because it's basically just a guessing game of hope you know where the survivor's gonna juke. It only applies pressure for a very brief moment, unlike something like Corrupt Energy, where you don't even have to land the move and you can just deny an area for like 10 seconds. Basically, this just encourages the 1x to mash as long as the survivor isn't on another elevation, which the survivor isn't always going to have. And also keep in mind that survivors have really harsh fall stagger, while killers don't have fall stagger at all. So if you choose to abuse vertical looping spots too much, you can actually get punished for it. And although I wouldn't call this like over-tuned in terms of just power-wise, it is actually genuinely quite inconsistent. But it just doesn't feel fun to go against, and even as the 1x, it feels very low skill. Like, it just encourages you to go like, hell, I'm just gonna mash my entanglement and just, like, go a random direction and hope it works and hope the survivor jukes themselves into it. 1x has received a lot of nerfs in the recent updates. It's basically just been nerf for him lately. And I think pretty much all of the nerfs are pretty reasonable. They have, like, good reasoning behind them. The Unstable Eye nerf seems specifically tailored to Builderman, which I think is fine, because Builderman getting pressured, like, first second into the match and not being able to do anything, and just get tunneled to death, it just isn't fun, man. Kaiser has said this before, but it's a similar reason to why Noli's Observant starts with a cooldown, so that you can't just instantly teleport and start applying pressure to the survivors, which would also hurt Builderman a lot in specific, because Builderman needs setup time to do literally anything. The other killers don't have this because they don't have stuff that allows them to very quickly reach across the map. Glitch changes are also pretty nice. Okay, currently editing DD here. I want to make a correction. The current glitch changes kind of make glitch useless. I think it's better than the original iteration where it was just annoying and felt unnecessary, especially the visual effect. But right now it just feels kind of bad. Like, it doesn't really do anything. Like, the status effect may as well just not exist at this point. Like, why is it even there anymore if it's just gonna do basically the equivalent of nothing? Like, it genuinely hardly does anything. The damage stacking only really screwed over people who hard fumbled, which is like, well, if they hard fumbled, they're already screwed. They don't need to be screwed more by glitched. The visual effect was not only just annoying and felt unnecessary, but you could also just disable it with epilepsy mode, a disability mode, which is like, come on, man, if you're gonna balance a killer around visual obscurity, then don't make it so that you can disable it with a disability mode. 1x's Rejuvenate the Rotten nerf is a very reasonable one, probably the most reasonable out of the bunch. 1x's minions already have really good area denial. Like, he really does not also need to be able to become the A-Train, and if you're somehow able to navigate around his minions, it still doesn't matter, because you're not going to navigate around a 1x with 35.1 sprint speed. But basically, none of these nerfs solve the core problem of 1x's kit that people complain the most about, which is Entanglement. The only nerfs that Entanglement really got is that, well, some of its buffs got reverted. Entanglement gives speed 1 after breaking out again, and Entanglement's end lag buffs got reverted. None of these really change the nature of Entanglement and how it's used and how it encourages mashing, and unless you rework the move entirely, you're always going to have people who complain that 1x is hilariously overtuned. At the same time, you will also constantly have people who complain about 1x being extremely underpowered. That being said, a lot of the reasons I see people come up with 1x being underpowered or overpowered is really stupid. The biggest examples is the juking argument, where people will say 1x is overpowered because you can, quote, just juke his projectiles. And then you'll have people who complain that 1x is overpowered because you can, quote, just read the jukes. Like, that's not how it works, dude. There is no guaranteed entanglement juke or guaranteed entanglement hit. Like saying you can just juke it is stupid, and saying that you can just read the juke is equally as stupid. Then another one I see occasionally pop up is Entanglement somehow punishing 1x more because of the speed 1 on hit. And 1x gets speed 2 for 3 seconds upon landing Entanglement. Guys, in what world is 1x being punished for landing Entanglement? Like, yes, okay, speed 1 for 1.25 seconds. Oh no, the survivor gets a speed boost. Speed 2 for 3 seconds versus speed 1 for 1.25 seconds. Which one's more powerful? Which one's stronger? Which one's better? Wow, very hard question, guys. I can't possibly think of which one is stronger. Is it the 10% speed boost for 1.25 seconds, or is it the 20% speed boost for 3 seconds? Oh god, guys, I can't answer this question. It's so hard. I'm starting to trail off topic. This video honestly feels even more ranty than my Stop Playing Sentinels one, so Sorry about that once again. Either way, I still hope that, well, this gave you a little bit of insight on 1x, and I hope you see a little bit better why people see 1x the way he is. Yeah, that's it. But, well, if you have any thoughts about 1x, leave it down in the comments. I would love to hear about it. Anyhow, that's the end of this video. Make sure to subscribe, watch other content, do stuff, and I'll see you around.